you're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
And joining us now here on Katz and Cosby is Professor Alan Dershowitz, his great book, War Against the Jews. Professor Dershowitz, this is stunning. The Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the Defense Secretary send a letter to the Israeli government basically saying they'll withhold military aid if humanitarian conditions don't improve in Gaza. That sounds like blackmail, if you will.
It is. It's blackmail, and it's false because there is no starvation in Gaza. There's starvation in Darfur and other parts of the world. Nobody has died of starvation. There's been no famine. It's all been a fake thing. There's been withholding of food by Hamas and by Egypt. Israel has tried its darndest to get as much humanitarian aid as possible. I would bet you that Israel has provided more humanitarian aid to its enemies than any country in history fighting a war like this has ever provided. Do you think the United States ever provided food to Germany or Japan or other countries? No, of course not. Israel has gone out of its way. Hamas has stolen many of the aid packages and given it to its fighters. So, of course, Israel has to be careful. It also has to be careful that aid packages, which are supervised by UNRWA, which is a Hamas front, don't contain weapons that are being used by Hamas. So the threats against Israel are just outrageous and wrong, and no American should support it. Now, Israel today indicated that it would send more aid, and let's hope that the United States calls off those threats.
Shouldn't Secretary Blinken have better intelligence and know that it's not true?
He knows. He's a very smart guy. I've known Tony Blinken. I knew his stepfather very well. He knows. He's very smart. It's just that this is an election year. They want to win Michigan, and they want to win Minnesota, and they want to win Arab voters. Right now, Arab voters, many of them staying home, so they want to send a message that they're being tough on Israel. And you should not allow political domestic considerations to influence policy toward your closest ally at a time of great danger for Israel, an existential danger from Iran created by the administration itself. Yeah.
So bottom line, Professor, it's the people going to vote November 5th. Whom do you trust?
Well, I don't trust either of them. I think that Trump has done a much better job on Israel. He has been a much better friend of Israel. He would allow Israel to attack Iran's nuclear reactors
and back them up.
Much better for Israel and back them up. I completely agree with that. I don't like some of the things he's saying about going after enemies, and so
he's not going to go after enemies. I talked to him. He's not going to go after enemies.
If I have your word on that, yes, that's good enough.
You have my word.
Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, if you listen to it, it's completely taken out of context. I want to get back to Israel real quick, Professor Dershowitz, because what does this mean? If you're Iran and you hear suddenly, okay, well, the U.S., at least between now and Election Day, is thinking about withholding weapons, and you look at the history of Kamala Harris and some of her statements, she didn't even have the guts or the courtesy to show up for Netanyahu there in Congress. Yeah. That's what I worry about. And also them saying, here's what you can hit, here's what you can't hit. With friends like that, who needs enemies?
Yeah, I think Iran is getting a very mixed message. On the one hand, the administration is sending some defensive missile repellent capabilities. On the other hand, they're preventing Israel from doing the job that it has to do to protect not only Israel, but American interests as well. So Iran's getting a very mixed message, and that's all it needs to proceed. On the basis of this mixed message, it sent hundreds and hundreds of rockets toward Israel. Of course, they missed most of them. It cost them millions of dollars of damage. Israel has suffered millions of dollars of damage. But next time, the rocket could hit in the middle of a
But Professor, they're making it back. They're making it back in the oil money that we're giving them.
Sure, not only oil money, but we're giving them relief from sanctions. We have created the monster. And I think eventually President Obama will go down in history as the Neville Chamberlain of the 2000 of this generation, of this decade, because in this century, because he has facilitated. He has said peace in our time between Iran and the United States, and it's failed. It's just like what England did and France did to Nazi Germany in the 1930s. And I think history will judge them very, very, very harshly.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we let you go, Professor Alan Dershowitz, the other thing I want to hit on is Fannie Willis. Did you see this? This is, of course, the Fulton County DA trying to reinvigorate the charges today that were dropped.
Well,
when will they give it up? What's the point?
I'd like to see the charges reinvigorated against Fannie Willis. She ought to be in prison, along with her lover. They stared the American public in the face. They stared the judge in the face, and they lied through their teeth. They committed perjury. They denied that they had an affair at the relevant point in time when everybody knows, and all the evidence, the hard evidence, people are in prison, people are on death row on less evidence than there is against Fannie Willis and her former lover in terms of perjury. So, yes, the charges ought to be renewed, but charges against them, I don't think there is a case against President Trump in Georgia.
Yeah, I think a lot of people agree. It is lawfare at its worst. Professor Dershowitz, thank you. So great to have you here on the show. We always love having you.
And I'm glad your family is okay.
Yeah, everything's fine. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.